Hello, everyone, and welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christina K-R-I-S-T-I-N-A. This is where we read books, talk about books, no special effects, no theme music, nothing, no magic going on here. But we also do. I like to binge watch episodes. I like to binge read books. I like the character progression, the character growth from book to book to book, from episode to episode. And that's what Star Trek Next Generation is. We have episodes, but we also have character progression from episode to episode. So that's what we've been doing. We've been binging Star Trek Next Generation, and I lost my train of thought. We've done over 90 episodes of this, and I don't know what's going on. I would appreciate it if you would hit the like and subscribe. Let me know I'm doing a good job here. I've been doing this well over a year now, and I have yet to hit 200, maybe by St. Patrick's Day. But of course, I have a request that if you subscribe, could you stay subscribed? Because I don't know what it is about it that happens, but every time I get a splurge, and I'm talking maybe 5 tops of subscribers, 6 or 7 or 8 of you will unsubscribe, and I'll end up in the negative for that week. Don't know why, but that's how it goes. Also, I don't know what's going on. I was been enjoying doing these Star Trek recaps with you, and I would love to be able to go live, but I'm not sure about how the copyright stuff works, so I can't do all that. And besides, I don't have really good equipment. My equipment is poor. I could use new equipment. But my Star Trek episodes have been really good to me, analytically wise. I'd get a really boost of analytics, and my analytics would soar. The past 4, 5 Star Trek videos have tanked, have been less views than my book views, and that's saying something. So I could request you all to please watch, please spread the news, please spread the word, tell the world I'm here, that I exist. And usually I have a whole bunch of comments about said episode, but I actually was so intent on watching this one, I didn't have too many comments. But I did have one major comment that we will get to when the time is appropriate. So, shall we get started? We are at the very last disc for season 4. This is disc 7. Count 7. And it is episode 200. And last week we did In Theory, and we're doing Redemption Part 1, and next week we'll do Redemption Part 2. So here we go. Our episode recap. Redemption. So we have an overview. Captain's log, stardate 44995.3. We're en route to the Klingon home world, where I will participate in the installation ceremony of Garam, the next designated leader of the High Council. This visit should also provide an opportunity for one of my officers to correct a grave injustice. I wonder who that could be. Could it be Mr. Worf? And I have some issues with this. I don't know what's wrong with me today. But anyway, we'll get to it. Oops. So Picard comes to see Worf. And it's one of the few times that he's not in the Starfleet uniform in this episode. He has been doing some practicing with his bat'leth. So Picard says, "Am I intruding?" And Worf is like, "No." And he's like, "Do you need me to get back in uniform?" Picard's like, "No. I am not here as your captain. I am here as the man who stood with you before the High Council. You're Chot Dick. We will arrive at your homeworld in less than a day. It is not time yet. Picard says, that doesn't sound like the man who came to me a year ago, fiercely determined to return home and to clear his father's name or die trying. Isn't it time to confront the council to regain your family's name? Let the truth be known. Worf says, I've been told that patience is sometimes more effective weapon than sword. Picard says, patience is a virtue, one of which I'm glad to see you've taken to heart. But doesn't this situation require a more Klingon response? Your discommendation is a facade to protect less honorable men. It is a lie. Lies must be challenged. Worf says, I have grown weary of bearing this dishonor. And then Riker interrupts and tells them that the Klingon vessel Bortas has arrived. So the captain arrives and says, Riker tells the captain that Bortas is standing by, Captain. Picard says, on screen. And Garan, this is an unexpected pleasure. Garan says, I must speak with you, Picard. We will have to move quickly if we are to be successful. Picard's like, successful? And Garan's like, yes, in preventing a Klingon civil war. Ooh, ah, ooh, ah, ooh. So Garan and Picard are in the observation lounge. And Garan is saying the family of Duras is massing support. They have many allies on the council. Picard says Duras died in disgrace by Klingon tradition. His family should share that disgrace. Garan says the corruption has poisoned the Empire. Honor will soon have no meaning. Picard says, and who speaks for his family? Garan says, Larissa and B'Etor, the sisters of Duras. Picard says, why would they claim the leadership of the council? Garan says, women may not serve on the council. Then how? How? If women are not allowed to do this, how? Because it seems that these ladies are powerful enough and got enough chutzpah behind them, and possibly a few Romulans who got the muscle to back this up. You know, we got some muscle. We're gonna do it. We're gonna beat those Klingons. We're gonna beat those Klingons. And I don't get it, because have you seen Klingons lately? Have you seen those big, huge Klingons? And have you seen the little Romulans, like Vulcans? But they got the shoulder pads. Hey, those were huge in the 80s. Those shoulder pads ruled. And the hair ruled too. Maybe that's why the Klingons have so much hair. Because it was started in the 80s. I mean, it may not have gone on television until the 90s, but yeah, with all the hair. You remember all the hair? So where was we? Oh, yes. Oh, I don't know, but they are plotting something. They have secured the loyalty of at least 3 fleet commanders. Larissa and B'Etor are feared, and fear is power. I do not see what I can do to assist, Picard says. Garan says, you were first chosen as arbiter of succession because no Klingon could be trusted. You accepted this duty, and you must see it through to the end. You must ensure my installation. Picard says, that is beyond my purview. Garan says, you will not support me. Picard says, I will not step outside the traditional role of the arbiter. Garan says, and if they attempt to block my installation, Picard says, then I can only assure you that I will deal with any challenge according to Klingon law. But Garan says, I fear that will not be enough. So then they come out of the ready room, and Picard says, Mr. Worf, will you escort our guest to the transporter room? Picard goes off, and they go into the turbolift, and then Picard says, begin monitoring the Romulan activity along the neutral zone. Mr. Data, have the outpost station send us the tactical reports. Data says, aye, sir. Picard says, the Duras family are preparing to move against Garan. Riker says, backed by Romulans. Picard says, I don't know, but there is too much history between the Duras and the Romulans to discount the possibility. Like I said, ooh, those big Romulans are coming with their stealthy stuff. How come we don't have stealthy stuff? How come we can't cloak? We need Captain Catherine Janeway to come back from the future and give us all that extra special Borg technology, don't we? Don't we? Yes. We need some Captain Janeway Voyager episodes. We need some Stargate Atlantis episodes. We need some new stuff. And they keep denying us fans the new stuff. And by the time they decide to do it, all our peoples will be dead, and I'll be dead. Sad. So then they go into the transporter room, and Worf dismisses the technician, who is not Chief O'Brien, by the way. I would speak with you, Worf says. Garen says, I do not hear the words of traitors. Worf says, I am not a traitor. Garen says, you admitted your guilt before the council. Worf says, I accepted this commendation to protect the Empire. Garen says, protected how? Worf says, it was Dora's father who betrayed our people to the Romulans and Khitomer, not mine. Doras, is there proof? Worf says, there is. Why would you accept this honor to protect Doras? Worf says his family was too powerful to expose him, would have split the Empire. Instead, the Council chose to blame my father. Garen says, the Council knew? Worf says, I believe you to be a man of honor, Garen. I ask you, restore my family name. Garen says, Worf, you killed Doras. I consider that no small favor, but what you ask is impossible. Worf says, but after the installation. Garen says, the grasp of Doras reaches out from the grave. Much of the council is still loyal to his family. I must have the council's support to survive. I cannot expose their treachery. You chose to accept this disgrace for the good of the Klingon Empire. Now you must live with your decision, like a Klingon. Now we have a surprise visit and counsel from Guinan, and it's not in 10 forward. And I just love Whoopi Goldberg. She does Guinan so well. The part was just made for her. She does it so well. So they're in the holodeck and he's practicing the shooting stuff. And Guinan comes in to offer a little bit of counsel. Guinan says, it's a little quiet down in 10 forward, so I thought I'd get off a little target practice. Do you mind if I join you? You? Practice? Worf says. I'd like to keep my eyes sharp, Guinan says. Well, I practice at level 14. Guinan says, well, I guess I could come down a few levels. Begin program. I had a bet with the captain that I could make you laugh before you became lieutenant commander. Worf says, not a good bet today. Guinan says, I've seen you laugh. I like it. Worf says, Klingons do not laugh. Guinan says, oh, yes, they do. Absolutely, they do. You don't. But I've heard some Klingon belly laughs that would curl your hair. Guinan says, your son laughs. He's a Klingon. Worf says he's a child and part human. Guinan said, that's right, and you're not. You're full Klingon, except that you don't laugh. Worf says, I do not laugh because I do not feel like laughing. Guinan says, other Klingons feel like laughing. What does it say about you? Worf says, perhaps I do not feel like other Klingons. Computer says, program complete. Guinan says, good game. Don't feel so bad. I was doing this long before you were born, so how is he, your son? He is adjusting. He's having difficulty adjusting to life on Earth. Guinan says, I can see where it might be hard for the little guy. Living with humans, being Klingon, could be very confusing. Worf says it will not be easy for him. Guinan says, no, it won't be, but at some point he's going to want to know what it's really like to be Klingon. Just like you are learning now what it's like to be Klingon. And I really want to know, I've got a couple of issues here. If Worf was raised on Earth with his human parents, then how does he know so much about Klingon behavior and what to do and when to do it? Did he just read this all from books? Did he do holodeck simulations? Who taught him all this Klingon stuff? He had to learn it someplace because he didn't grow up on Klingon, on the planet. So I'm sometimes I have issues with where he learned all this stuff. Did he learn it off from books? How does he know he's doing it right? How does he know he's doing it wrong? How does he know anything when he's not been surrounded by Klingon for an extended period of time? So I don't know. I have issues with that. But anyways, shall we get on with it? You know, when I first saw this scene, I was wondering if this was part of a bigger master plan for Worf to go undercover type situation. I don't know if it's, we won't know till part two because this is part one. But excuse me, I'm not sure. And I do know that a couple of episodes ago we were hinted at a return of a beloved character who has gone evil or uh, descended from good and became evil. So we'll see about that. But so Worf comes in and he says, "Captain, I request a leave of absence." Picard says, "Mr. Worf, request granted." And Worf says, "Thank you, sir." And Picard says, "Quapla." And Worf leaves, and then Picard stands there alone and says, "Good luck." Okay, so then we get a voice overview. Um, Lieutenant Worf, personal log, stardate 44996.1. I have located the Klingon ship on which my brother Kurn serves as captain and have arranged to meet him. Now it's a little dark, so I don't know how much you can see. They always try and make it dark for dramatic purposes, but there are those with eye issues. They can't see shit in the dark. So he goes to meet with his brother. Kern says, "It's been too long, my brother." Worf says, "Too long. We have much to discuss. I have asked Garan to restore our family honor. He refused." Oh, there she goes. And no bongs. Wow. Kern says, "Garan will not live to see the day he leads the council." Worf says, "What do you mean?" Kern says, "He stands alone, surrounded by his enemies. Lucer and Etor will have him killed, and if they don't, I will." Worf says, "You will." Kern says, "Garan is weak. The family of Duras must never be allowed to rule the council. Our leaders have failed us. They no longer deserve our loyalty. It is time to sweep away the old council and put a new one in its place." Worf says, "How can this be done?" Kern says, "I've already have the support of 4 squadron commanders in key strategic sectors. When the time comes, they will follow me. Join us, Worf, and we will usher in a new era and begin our family name. Regain our family name." Worf says, "No." And Kern says, "What?" And Worf says, "Garan has completed the rite of succession. It is our duty to support him." Kern says, "Garan spits in your face when you ask him to give back what is rightfully ours and you would support him." Worf says, "We cannot regain honor by acting dishonorably." Kern says, "I will not support Garan." Worf says, "I am the elder brother, Kern. I speak for our family. We will back Garan, but not now, not yet. We will wait until he feels the grasp of his enemies around his throat, and then we will offer him our support, and the price will be the restoration of our family name." Kern says, "It will be difficult to convince my allies to back Garan, but I will try. I must go to Memphis sector to meet with the other quadrant members." Worf says, "Contact me when you've gained the support. Then I will be ready for Garan." Okay, then we're in the big great hall again, and we get a captain's log. My role as Arbiter of Succession has again brought me to the Great Hall of the Klingon High Council. Catal says bunch of stuff in Klingon. Picard walks forward. Catal says, have you reached a decision regarding the succession of power? Picard says a bunch of stuff in Klingon. Catal says a bunch of stuff in Klingon. And then he says, the Arbiter confirms that you have completed the rite of succession. Your enemies have been destroyed. You stand alone. Do you wish to claim leadership of the council? Garen says, I wish it. Catal says, are there no other challenges? And I'm wondering if he knew there was going to be something going on, if he had advance notice of something going on. Did he? I think he had advance notice. I think he knew. Someone slipped him a couple of... What is Klingon money anyway? Does anybody know? Does anybody know what Klingon money is called? Put in the comments. Let me know. I'd like to know what Klingon money is. What's the name for it? Is it Klingon money? Is it Dakas or Durkas or Dakas or whatever? What do they call it? Irish DACAS, something like that. But anyway, so he goes to put the jacket on, and just before he puts the jacket on, this little kid comes up and says, there is one. I am Torel, son of Doras. Garen says Doras had no son. And Beto says, but he did, Garen. Oh, did I tell you about faking paternity tests? Is that a possibility? Do we think it's a possibility? Fake paternity test. I'm pretty sure. Not sure. Pretty sure. Not sure. Pretty sure. Garen, Duras had no son. Bador says, but he did. And Garen says, so this is your doing, Larissa. And Larissa says, we wish to address the council. Catal says, Larissa, Beto, come forward. Larissa says, members of the High Council, it is a great day of great rejoicing for the family of Duras and the Klingon Empire. We have discovered that our brother did indeed have a son and heir. Garen says, this is outrageous. Duras had no mate. Where did you find him, Larissa? In a harlot's bedchamber? Duras says, I will personally cut your tongue out, young Tug. Garen says, imprudent wench. Beta says, a simple genetic scan will prove his bloodline is valid. Yeah, phony, faked. Garen says, the illegitimate son of Duras cannot rule the High Council. Keto says, the arbitrator will consider his validity. Then we go out to the house. So then we're in the home. And Larissa and her sister are talking. Our allies on the council back Torel's claim. It is Picard's hands now. Morva says, excellent. Everything is proceeding as scheduled. Torel says, why not just kill Picard? Beto says, fool, do we want the Federation as our enemy? Torel says, no. And then there's a familiar sounding voice over in the corner in the shadows. And we all know who it is. This must have been a big thing when this first aired. There must have been a lot of hoopla going, look who's back. And not in a nice way, in a negative way. As an evil person. This person in the corner says, at least not yet, but when the time is right, we will deal with the Federation and Captain Picard. Ooh, ah, ooh, uh-huh. Okay, so then Worf is in his quarters on the ship talking to Kerm. I have met with other squadron commanders there. Here, 3 will join us, 1 will not. That gives us enough strength to control 7 key vectors. Worf says, do you know the strength of our enemies? Kern says they have at least 7 squadrons, but most of the fleet has not decided which banner to follow. Worf says, Garon is nearly out of options. Soon he will have no choice. Kern says, I will return soon to the homeworld. We shall meet there. So then Worf is meeting with Data. Data says, do you require the original logs recorded during the attack, Lieutenant? Worf says, everything we have on the Kittimer massacre. Data says, We can provide you with our analysis of the communications between Kittima Outpost and the Romulan ships. However, for complete records, you will have to contact Starbase 24. And then Picard comes in and sees this going on. And Picard says, Mr. Worf, have you canceled your leave? And Worf says, no, sir. And Lieutenant Picard says, see me in my ready room. And at first, I thought Picard was going to give him a little conflict here. And I want to know, one of my biggest grievances with why, if he's on leave, why is he in uniform? Do you wear your work uniform on vacation? Just asking. So they're in his ready room, and Picard says, Mr. Worf, you're using our files on the Kittima massacre as evidence against Duras' father. Yes, sir. Picard says, don't you see this as a conflict of interest? And he's like, sir, this Federation file records will help me prove that my father was falsely accused of treason. Picard says, you're using your position as a Starfleet officer to effect political change on your planet. There could be a worse compromise of our fundamental principles. Worf says, do not tie my hands now. I must be able to prove my father's innocence. Those Federation records could do that. Picard says, Mr. Worf, here I am lecturing you on conflict of interest while I'm desperately trying to avoid one of my own. Do you think I wish to allow the Duras family to solidify their hold on the Council? Do you think I cannot see for myself the implications of the Federation? Good lords, Duras tried to have me killed. All of my instincts, my training, my very being as a Starfleet officer at odds with my responsibilities as the arbiter of the Klingon Council. We must walk the very same tightrope between two worlds, you and I. We must try our very best to keep those worlds separate or we shall fail. The Prime Directive. No, 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 no. The Prime Directive. No messing in other people's worlds. No, 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 no. Shame on you. However, this might be for a good reason. So he says, after saying all this, Picard says, I will make the Kittima massacre files available to anyone who wants them. To the High Council, to the Duras family, to you, anyone. Worf says, thank you, sir. Picard says, Mr. Worf, this is as far as I can go. And then Riker calls Picard. So then Picard gets a message from the sisters, so he goes down alone. Oh my God, he went down alone, unarmed, with no weapons or nothing? Boy, the child likes to live dangerously. And I'm sure Riker gave him an issue about it, but he's like, oh no, I gotta go by myself. Beta says, welcome, please come in, be seated. Something to drink, Captain. Earl Grey tea, gives him stuff. You come alone and unarmed. Nothing would be served by killing the Arbiter before his decision. Beta says, nevertheless, a brave act, Captain. And Lucy she rubs his head, like, ew. We should extend it much sooner. We don't want you to judge us by your experience with our brother. Beta says Duras was a fool. Larissa says he deserved to die. Beta says forget him. We have. Larissa says we do not wish to be your enemy. Beta says quite the opposite. Picard says that pleases me. Who says that? Who says that? Larissa says, have you made your decision regarding Targel's challenge? I am pursuing it with due diligence. Beta says, allow me to heat your tea. Larissa says Tyrell has the bloodline to lead the Empire into the next century. He has the support of the people. What they mean is that the kid's gonna be their puppet and he's gonna do what they say and they're gonna rule the throne. There have been many instances. If you've read Beatrice Small's Sky O'Malley and many of the Regency books, where a young kid obtains rule and the mother behind him gives him all his instructions. That's what they're doing. They're gonna put their token in. The woman can't rule. Um, it's a man's world. It's a man's world. Chauvinistic. But anyways, so they need a guy, one that they can control, and they can control this kid temporarily until the real culprit standing in the corner, the wannabe human Klingon lady, gets control, and then she will be ruthless. So he has this meeting with them, and then he leaves. I really thought they were going to try and poison him with their tea after they tried to, convince him that it would be in his best interest if he did what they wanted him to do. So then we're back in the Great Hall, and Catal comes forward and says, what's your decision? And he says, the council knows the laws of hereditary well, and names the kid. A son shall share in the honors or crimes of his father. Tyrell is Duras' son. That has been established by the genetic scan. Fake, fake, fake. With due respect to traditions and laws of this High Council, there is no bias for accepting a petition from a leadership from a boy who has fought no battles, shed no blood for his people, or earned no honor for himself. One day perhaps he shall, but not now. Duras is dead. His claim to the leadership died with him. Garen shall lead the council. Garen says the arbitrator is ruled. There are no more challenges. Tyrell says the Federation dictate Klingon destiny, or do we? Follow me, or I will show you honor. And Garen says, follow him, and you reject all Klingon law. And they all walk out. What the F is up with that? Do you remember a certain January day where someone tried to say that the vote didn't go his way because he was a sore loser? The guy that's going to be Emperor of the United States, whether we like it or not, because his cult, and it's a cult, they believe in him so much. They worship the ground he walks on. He can do no wrong. He wants to get in office so he can kill people and do a whole bunch of other things and then make it a dictatorship in the United States instead of a democracy. I can see it happening. We shall see. There are some cases in real life where the evil really wins. And when you've got a cult and they're all just brainwashed to love this guy forever. It's a good thing none of you watch this video. No one ever comes this far in. My analytics say you only watch about 2 minutes, and not even 2 minutes. But anyways, so they all leave. So, without putting the physical coat on him, he can't be ruler. He needs the crown. He needs the crown jewels. In this case, it's the coat. Without the coat, you can't be ruler. And without being officially given the coat, you can't rule. So them all walking out put an end to it. So there's a stalemate going on. So then Worf goes over to Garon and says, so Garon, he goes in and he says, your message said it was urgent. What do you want? Worf says, your forces are weak, Garon. You need help to fight the family of Duras. Garon says, from one dishonored Klingon, I offer you 4 Klingon squadrons. Why would they follow you, a Starfleet officer? Worf confesses that his brother is Kurn. And Garon says, Kurn is your brother? Yes, his true bloodlines were hidden to protect him. Garon says, Kurn will follow me. He has opposed me in the past. Worf says, I am the elder brother. He will do as I say. Garon says, what is it you want in return? You know my price. Garon says, the return of your honor for support of 4 squadrons. No, that will not be enough. The Duras family controls most of the fleet. We must have Federation help. Worf says they will not intervene. Prime Directive. No, 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 no. Perhaps not yet, but Starfleet will listen to Picard, and Picard will listen to you. Worf says, I can ask nothing more of him in this matter. Gowron says, what? My duty as Starfleet officer. Gowron says, you come to me and demand the restoration of your family honor, and now you hide behind human excuses? What are you, Worf? Do you tremble and quake with fear at the approach of combat, hoping to talk your way out of a fight like a human? Or do you hear the cry of the warrior calling you to battle, calling you to glory like a Klingon? And according to Klingon rules, the best way to die is to be murdered in battle. Go figure. One more thing. He's still in Starfleet uniform, and he's on the Klingon ship in Starfleet uniform. Just thought I'd bring that up. So then, while he's on the ship, in his Starfleet uniform, oh God, again? She keeps going off. She can't tell time for nothing. She likes to bing. Bing, 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 bing. 9. It's 9. It's not, but that's what she says. So they come under attack. He's on the Klingon ship. He's in Starfleet uniform. They go under attack. One of the guys gets injured, and Worf takes over and helps them with the battle. So they start with their battle, and Gowron says status, and the Klingon says shields are down, and the helmsman says war coils are damaged. And then we switch to the Enterprise. Lots of back and forth in this little 5-minute segment. Then we're on the Enterprise, and Picard goes to red alert, and Data says a second ship has joined the attack on the Vortex. Picard says it's begun. And then we go back to Gowron's ship, and we see this here, and all we hear is send an emergency signal to loyal ships. Helmsman impulse engines are not responding. There's an explosion. Worf takes the station. Gowron says engage emergency override, and Worf says override engaged. Disruptors not responding. And then we go back to the Enterprise. Data says the Vortex has lost port shield, sir. It's unlikely they will withstand another hit at that quarter. Their primary life support has failed, sir. Riker says Vortex has put out a general distress call. Riker says Ensign Real plot a course to take us safely away from the combat area, half impulse. Riker says, Captain, the Vortex is Gowron's ship. If he's the legitimate leader of the Empire, shouldn't we help him? Picard says, if we go to the aid of Vortex, we will be dragging the Federation into a Klingon war. Riker says, what about Worf? And Picard just sits down in his chair, fixes his jacket, and says, Ensign engage, and they leave, which is not good. So then they're on the Klingon ship, and port shields are still down. Worf says, disruptors online. Gowron says, lock on target. No, Worf says, don't you see? Their sensors will detect the weapon lock. If they think we're helpless, they will try to board. I can aim and fire disruptors manually when they drop their shields. Gowron says, do it. And Worf is like, I don't have no idea what the Kelly cams or 20,000 Kelly cams. I have no idea what those are. Now within transporter range, and what Gowron's like, now, and Worf says they're dropping shields, and Gowron says something, and then Worf says firing second target, and they were able to raise shields in half. So they destroyed the first ship, but not the second one. Disruptors are offline. Gowron says all power to shields. Someone says shields are failing. Another Kling swoops in and drives off the attacker. Worf says incoming message. Garen says, on view. Kern says, this is Captain Kern of the High Top. We have come to defend the Empire and to follow the banner of Garam. Worf says the enemy has sustained major damage to its life support systems. They have disengaged. Garen says, you have done well, Kern. Lusa Beta have moved more quickly than I anticipated. We shall not underestimate them again. Meet us at the Great Hall. And the transmission ends. Okay, so then we're back in the Great Hall again. Picard puts the jacket on, putting the crown on. Here's your crown, King. It's official. You're legal now. So Catal now received the loyalty of the Council and of the Empire. Now, explain to me how he can trust these Council members if they walked out on him the first time. Explain how he can accept these people that walked out on him on the first time. And the first thing he does after he gets the thing, he takes this knife thingy and I, Sir Knight, you, Sir Worf. They gives him a sword. And he puts the sword in Worf's hand and he slices it and the whole thing comes away with blood on it. He goes, you fought as warriors, you prove your hearts are Klingon, and gets the blood. I return your family honor. I give you back that which was wrongfully taken from you. Let your name be spoken once again. You are Worf, son of Mog. For those of you who like blood and guts, I bet he's got a tube on his hand or something and releases it as it's a deal. So Garen says the Duras family is gathering a large force near Beta Thor. As the terms of the Treaty of Alliance, I now formally request your assistance in fighting these enemies of the Empire. Riker says these enemies are Klingons. Garen says, by right and tradition, I am the sole leader. All who oppose me are traitors. Picard says, I understand your position, but I'm sure you're aware that the Federation does not interfere what is by definition an internal Klingon affair. You arbitrated the right of succession. You are already involved. Picard says, my duties in that regard are finished. And Worf comes in and says, we must intervene. The Duras family is corrupt and hungry for power, with no sense of honor or loyalty. They represent a grave threat to the security of the Federation. Captain, you and I know they have conspired with the Romulans in the past. If they should be victors in this way, they will surely form a new Klingon-Romulan alliance. That would represent a fundamental shift of power in this quadrant. Starfleet must support Garen in its interest of both the Federation and the Empire. I beg you support us in our cause. Because as Mr. Worf, I don't have to lecture you on the principle of non-interference. As a Starfleet officers, we have all sworn an oath to uphold the principle, whatever our personal feelings. I'm sorry, I must refuse your request. The Prime Directive! Why haven't you talked about the Prime Directive? Captain Janeway always talked about the Prime Directive. And Worf starts to follow Garen out of the room, and he says, I must recall you to duty immediately. And then he resigns. We're getting there. So then he says, Captain, I respectfully request that I be allowed to take an extended leave of absence. Because as Mr. Worf, your responsibilities as Starfleet officer are incompatible with training on board a Klingon ship during a time of war. Worf says, Captain. Picard says, I order you to return to duty at once. Worf says, then I resign my commission as Starfleet officer. And Worf puts his comm badge on the table. And Garen says, I await you aboard the Vortas. And leaves. So now Picard comes to see him. And now he's in Klingon uniform. I understand that you'll be serving on board the Vortas as weapons officer, because as your tactical knowledge and experience will serve them well. Thank you, sir. Mr. Worf, you are certain that this is the right decision. with all his secret knowledge of Starfleet stuff and security stuff and all that kind of technical support, they're allowing him to go to the Klingons. I'm still thinking this is a secret plot. Worf says, I was rescued from kidnapped by humans, raised and loved by human parents. I spent most of my life around humans, fought beside them, but I was born a Klingon. My heart is of that world. I do hear the cry of the warrior. I belong with my people. Because as being the only Klingon ever to service in Starfleet gave you a singular distinction. But I felt that what was unique about you was your humanity, your compassion, generosity, fairness. You took the best qualities of humanity and made them part of you. The result was belongings was, and the result made you part of you. And then he says he'll have Worf's belongings transported over to the other ship. And all right, I got some Neelix ideas coming to me in this next one. The last time we saw this, and I could be wrong because we still got several more seasons to go yet. But the last time I saw something like this was on Voyager when Neelix left. That's the one time I can remember seeing this particular thing happen. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the one other time that I remember this particular ceremony occurring. And he just walks down the corridor to the turbo lift to the transporter. Sorry, and says goodbye to everybody. And the senior staff is in the transporter room. Troy, you haven't seen Troy this episode or Dr. Crusher, but Riker, Geordi's there, everybody's there, and they say goodbye and he leaves. And they have a cheerful goodbye. And then we have one final little bit of a cliffhanger bit. Then we're back on Klingon in the sisters thing, and you get the big reveal. Like it wasn't a big reveal. Big, huge. Like we didn't know it was coming. Wait for it. Wait for it. Can you see those videos? Wait for it, 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 wait for it. Wait for it, it's coming, wait for it, it's coming. Wait, 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 wait. Here we go. There you go. Ta-da! Well, that's the end of this episode. Are you ready for part 2? That's the beginning of season 5. This is the last disc of season 4. Redemption part 1. We did Star Trek Next Generation in theory last week, and part 1 Redemption today, and next week we're going to do part 1 Redemption or part 2 Redemption. So excuse me if you've seen my little device here before. And we shall end this. And take our little silver disc that we can't read. Whoever thought that this would be good? And we shall start season 5. Are you all excited for season 5? And will you be joining me on a weekly basis to celebrate Star Trek Next Generation? Will you? Shall we? All those fancy rules, but we just recap. We can't show it because we gotta understand stuff. I don't know. Got all this extra stuff at the beginning. I miss Wesley. Do you miss Wesley? I miss Wesley. Troy. There's a shippy. And this is our new retrieval log. Oh, and this is Fancy Schmancy. This is Fancy Schmancy. We haven't seen this before. Redemption Part 2 next week. Darmark the week after. Ensign Rowe, our new, we just saw her in Picard Season 3. She was one of the heroes. Bajoran, that's it, Bajoran. And Silicon Avatar. So this is what you have to look forward to. So please hit the like and subscribe and let me know I'm doing a good job. Thank you.